Well, welcome everyone. This is episode number 1 of
WeBeWhisky.
Yeah.
There we go.
And we haven't planned anything, really.
No.
We planned a couple bottles here.
That we want to talk about.
Yeah. Maybe we should tell them a little bit about what our ideas are for the channel.
Well, so first of all, part of our whole program here is to talk about whiskeys that we keep at the barbershop. We have a little barbershop in High River, Alberta, Canada, and it's called the Daily Mail. And so this is where we get to talk about some of the things that we serve at our licensed barbershop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it'll appeal to a large audience, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to look at whiskeys not just from, not just Scotch, not just bourbon, so whiskeys from around the world.
Absolutely.
You know, Canadian whiskeys, Irish whiskeys, that kind of thing.
When you think about it, all liquors are whiskeys in a way. Even the Mexican whiskey, tequila, and the Caribbean whiskeys of rum, all there in a rich bouquet of incredible flavors and experiences all the way around the world.
Yeah, and that's right. Every one has its own unique character.
Absolutely.
Its own taste, its own smells. So that's why we love it.
It's also why they call it a spirit.
Yes. Now I'm new to this whole game, so I've only been maybe 6 months, 10 months, something like that in my whiskey journey. I mean, I started probably 8 years ago. No, yeah, 8 years ago. I bought a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue label.
Oh.
Just because I was having a grandson.
Right? So the investment bottle.
So it was
celebration
interesting.
investment.
Yeah, well, it's not. There's about that much left in it now, right? So, and after 8 years, it's probably lost most of its character in that, right? But
Yeah.
And then I've had Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, just kind of entry level.
What we would call bar scotch.
Yeah, bar scotch. You know, so, but yeah. Once I met you, you introduced me to different scotches. Then I started doing a little bit of research. You know, watching YouTube channels, Ralphie.com. I'm sure if you're watching this, then you've probably seen Ralphie.com. He's an awesome character. So yeah, we could. I think maybe if we have 10 years of this going on, we can live up to Ralphie as well, right? So what are we going to look at today?
Well, we have a nice journey today. We're starting with the Old Forester, 1920. This is a lovely bourbon, rich, full, a little bit of caramel in this guy. So it's a little sweeter on the top note, but a lovely, lovely, lovely long finish in this one.
And it's not 40%. This is 57.5% or 115 proof.
115 proof. So this has got a little bit of extra love for us today.
Yes.
Excellent. Now you can see the color. It's quite a dark amber. This is usually indicative of a pretty healthy load of caramel. But also, sometimes, color is influenced by the barrel itself, what was in it before it became a whiskey barrel or a bourbon barrel. And then, of course, there's always the charring inside, which gives it that lovely bit of smoky finish in the end as well.
So with bourbons, do they use brand new oak barrels?
Typically, I don't know. That I don't know.
Well,
we'll look at it.
It kind of makes sense because everybody else uses bourbon
We're
barrels.
bourbon barrels. That's true. That would make perfect sense, actually.
No.
But it's one for the Google.
Yeah,
Double check that.
Absolutely. And when I first when I first opened this bottle and tasted it, because it was 57.5%, it had, I took a fairly big sip and it had a lot of burn on the edge of my tongue, right? So
very rich in the
yeah.
in the alcohol side. Nice legs. So again, this is another good indicator of the, I don't know if we can see that very clearly.
Yeah.
But it's got nice legs. Lots of spirit in this spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get the sweetness of it, the caramel, toffee kind of aromas.
Yeah.
And again, it's, for me, at this point, I'm really unable to distinguish all of the nuances in
this
a whiskey.
this takes time. And believe me, by the time we're done this, for many, many years of this, we'll have quite a journey. And we're all going to have this journey together, which is really fun.
Absolutely. It'll be fun. So. It's intense right off. Suck a little bit of air in, and I get that smoke in the back of my throat.
And the oakiness of the barrel is so on the top. I love it. This has got an awesome, like just a nice even feel all the way down. It doesn't get stuck here. It just flows just beautifully. I love that.
And the finish lingers.
Long finish in this one.
Yeah.
Very long finish. And still, now, on the top end, now, in the finish, what have we got? There's something fruity on the top end of this.
I'm unsure.
Not quite vanilla?
I could have studied the tasting notes, but that's really cheating.
That is
like
cheating.
It really doesn't matter.
But the experience, though.
It doesn't matter what I can smell, what I taste. It's whether each individual likes it or not. And it's a very pleasant sipping whiskey.
It is a very, and I tell you, it almost has this kind of like a sherry note to it, and I like that. It almost just has this delicious kind of sort of sweet, not heavy, very, very warm kind of smell to it, which I quite enjoy that. In fact, a lot of whiskeys, especially the American ones, are steeped in that old tradition. The bourbon making is a tried and true art. Bourbons typically are corn based too, which is something else that sort of gives them a little bit of a different sort of experience in the mouth and the nose than a Scotch, for example, or even in a rye whiskey. You can definitely tell the difference. The corn gives it a little bit of a sweeter finish to start with. Add a little bit of caramel, and of course it just gets that high note. And this is something that you don't see in a lot of other whiskeys. I don't notice it as much in say a Scotch, for example, where you get you can segment the flavors a lot differently. With bourbon, you don't get that so much. You get the predictable notes, let's say.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as complex as some Scotches, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Scotches can be very, very
not
complex.
as nuanced. It's just it is what you get is
precisely. Yeah.
But I'm not going to score it because I don't have the experience to score it. I like it. And that's really all my score.
And really, that's what it comes down to. It doesn't matter how much it costs. We'll say this over and over again.
No.
It doesn't matter how much it costs. It only matters how much you like it.
Right. And I would have that on my bar as a bourbon.
Absolutely. And a respectable one at that.
No.
Very respectable. We could score it as good, better, and best.
Good, better, and best? Yeah.
And I would say that this is good.
Yeah.
I would say that this is good.
Yeah. It's. I would agree with that. I mean,
I would say in the high end
pleasant.
of good, though.
No. And maybe on a future show, we will line up some different bourbons.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
we should talk a little bit more about the distilleries themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Which will take a little bit of
we'll do that.
research.
Yeah, we'll do research. See, this one today,
We'll
guys,
do our-
this was just off of the cuff.
That's right.
No planning. We just set it up.
Spitballing
and
100%.
Yeah, and we're going for it, right?
And we're going for it.
But that's good. I enjoyed that.
Wow. Well worth it.
Yeah, I still get that when I breathe in, just goes down your throat and kind of wants to.
It's the exhale that gives you the flavor.
Yeah, it just hangs in there,
It does.
which is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I opened that bottle, I poured, an ounce in there, and I think it took me an hour and a half to drink it. Just sipping it like hot coffee sips.
Exactly. And this is something that, we'll talk about too going forward, is about how to consume this whiskey, because there's lots of different ways. Like, I mean, certainly there's lots of whiskeys that you can open with a single drop of water. It changes the flavors incredibly. Scotch is particularly known for
Right.
this.
Bourbon, not so much.
Bourbon, not so much. Although bourbon on ice, oddly enough, bourbon on ice is one way that bourbon is often consumed. And on ice, excuse me, it tends to mellow the bourbon a lot. It takes the harder edges off, softens it. So in a way, it gives the bourbon a little bit more experience, a little bit more maturity in a way.
There you go. So next up on the list.
So now we go to a Scotch, which is amazing. This is the Ardbeg Scorch. This is an Islay Scotch. This is an incredibly peaty Scotch, amazingly peaty Scotch. But the real joy in this is with the finish. This is a lingering finish. This is like if you've ever taken a lovely golf shot, let it go and just watched, and the hang time, it just takes forever to hit the ground. And that's how I would equate the finish of this particular Scotch.
We might make comment on that this is, I believe, the festival
Yes,
Scorch,
yes.
whereas there's actually a committee
There is a
version.
committee version of this, which is outstanding. And it's actually
And it's like 52% or something like that for the committee version.
yes.
Yeah.
So rare as well.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh no, let's have a little bit more. You only live once, Randy.
Yes.
There we go. And what good is a liver?
And Isla is noted for the really peaty, really smoky.
Very, very, very
Right.
pungent, very strong, very bold
Yeah.
flavors in this. So the story, when we had the committee version of this in the barbershop, and this, of course, during COVID, so we have a plexiglass screen that goes over the bar to keep all those COVID germs away from all the bottles and glasses. Yeah. Anyway, the first time we opened this bottle, the committee version, the gentleman in the barber chairs sitting over here could smell it behind the plexiglass, from behind the plexiglass. So
That's how smoky it was.
that's how incredibly smoky this is. And the flavor notes of the committee version, were three. One was cigar ash. That was the first one. The second one was prepared meat, and the third was antiseptic lozenge. So imagine the combination of those three flavors. Now, I mean, it certainly doesn't sound that interesting or that good. The antiseptic, yeah. So, but those three things become harmonious in this glass of lovely Scotch. And now, this version is not quite as intense as the committee, but it still has a lot of the same notes. It's still very, very peaty. It's still so lovely and smoky.
Well, and the alcohol content helps to carry
and it does
a bit,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Geez, for a guy who doesn't know much about alcohol, you know an awful lot about alcohol.
Well, it's bottled at 46%, so at least it's not the anemic 40%.
Exactly.
Used to in Canada,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Now this, and you can see the difference in the legs. They're not quite as intense as the bourbon, but still nice. Still nicely
but
there.
no color additive in this. No caramel E150,
and
right?
And that is it exactly. So when we compare these two, and I'm just going to do this as a kind of a quick comparison, but you can see like there's clearly a difference here.
No, absolutely.
Now we're comparing apples and oranges here as well, because bourbon and Scotch. But you can find Scotches. There's plenty of good Scotches on the market that are darn near this color.
No.
But mostly those often those are influenced by the barrel itself. So these typical Scotches would be, cast in a sherry or a port cask, for example. In which case, then they are a little bit darker in color without the caramel.
Yeah.
So this is one.
Definitely
this is one you could nose all day. I could literally sniff this all day long, and you can experience the entire Scotch just through the nose in this one. This is incredibly good.
And interestingly enough, with the nose that is so peaty, so smoky, the first sip, smoke is not what I get. Heat is not what I get.
No. That's not the first. That is not the introduction. The nose is all, but the first sip is just not quite that.
I get sweetness out of it. So most of these seem to have caramel flavor, and I think that's just a product of the malting process.
Absolutely.
You know, because you toast barley and you get those caramel notes coming.
Exactly.
Right.
This, even though it
hangs on the side of the tongue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And even though it's radically peaty, the flavor itself, the nose and the flavor of the palate are so completely different. It is just
radically different.
Radically.
I really expected just to have that heavy smoke flavor in it. And
when I first tried this, I actually thought this would be ideal around a campfire. But now I think no. This I think would be much better with a nicely smoked brisket.
Yes.
Because it's just going to bring out the flavor of the food. The food is going to bring out the flavor of this. This is just going to be a lovely, lovely harmony here.
Yeah. And really, at this point, I'm not a huge fan of smoky whiskeys, right? But, I'm learning. My palate is changing a bit.
Palates change. And this is something else that we'll talk about, too, as we go along, is that the change in the palate. So a lot of younger viewers out there, maybe, you're kind of like not too sure about getting into whiskeys. They're not comfortable for your mouth. They don't feel good. Beer and mixed drinks are often kind of where you want to be. But as you get older, you'll find that your palate will change. As you enter your 40s, you'll start to see that you'll like different kinds of beer as opposed to the kind of off the shelf. Like you'll lend more to the craft beers.
Absolutely.
You'll start moving more towards different spirits that are different for you. They're going to be different for your mouth, but your food, the way you enjoy your food is going to be different. And all of these things are going to culminate together. And by the time you hit your 50s, if you're 30 now, by the time you hit your 50s, you're going to have a completely different experience when you taste a Scotch or a bourbon or a rye. Very, very different. Where you want to mix these with different mixes, ginger ale, Coke, whatever, they will no longer appeal that way eventually.
No.
Eventually.
You would be ruining something like this if you mixed it with something.
In fact, you can say it bruises the alcohol.
Yeah. I don't know what it Well, I haven't added any water to these kind of things, so I don't know whether this even needs it or not, right?
Well, when you break the surface tension of a Scotch with a drop of water, what happens to the Scotch is that it changes something. It somehow finds this new depth of flavor, a new depth of nose, and it will absolutely change everything you think about a particular Scotch. Even a bar Scotch will do this.
Yeah. I've noticed in the small selection that I have that sometimes on particular ones, a little bit of water just kind of opens it up.
It
right?
does. It opens it. Literally opens it up. It literally changes the flavor. It changes the way the spirit smells. It changes the way it tastes. It's radical.
Yeah.
Try this with give it any Scotch. Single drop of water.
Yeah. See what it does.
In a Glencairn glass like this, it will blow your mind. I swear it will blow your mind how much it changes this. Yeah, aren't they like the chimney?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just brings all of that lovely smell right to the top.
And you don't have to hold it like this with your hand or anything, right?
You can use the bottom to see the legs, the color, the fingerprints.
And it's actually fingerprints. It's nice. It's nice to see that it's just the whiskey color.
Absolutely.
The color added from the barrels.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the spirit comes out of the distillers white.
White.
Correct?
Yeah, clear. Pretty well.
So now it's the barrels, whatever barrels they're aging it in, how long it's aged, presumably.
Yeah. The type of barrel.
The type of barrel, right? What was in it before.
That's right.
And whether it's a new barrel or an old barrel.
Yeah.
Right? So a new barrel would impart more color, more flavor from the oak and that. So if you're using them multiple
the more
times,
the woody flavor.
Yeah.
So, a used barrel will give you the flavors of the previous resident, so to speak.
Absolutely. And that's why, just on a different topic, you had mentioned how your palate changes and maybe younger guys who are into beers, the buds and whatever, and then they change to craft beers and that. And that whole craft beer scene is just over the last 5-10 years in Canada kind of taken off, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you see, I'm a fan of craft beer. Like I've been a fan of craft beer for a long time since it kind of started here. So yeah. So my daughter lives out in Victoria. Yeah. So that's why the Phillips shirt. Thank you guys.
Plugging that brewery.
Craft beer is awesome.
Checks in the mail, right, guys?
Yeah. But yeah, this isn't a craft beer.
No, this is far from it. But I will say that this is a limited edition Scotch. You won't see this around for very long. You may get this again once more. We may get another committee version of this, hopefully. Maybe in May, hopefully. But by the time it reaches Canada, it'll be quite a bit.
It'll be hard to find.
It'll be hard. It'll be hard to get. But this version here, this guy is actually relatively easy to get right now. But again, like all good things, it will come to an end eventually.
Yeah.
Hopefully replaced by something better.
It's wonderful.
Price-wise, it's a little pricey. I will say this. You will look, well above $100 for this bottle, Canadian.
closer to 200 right now, if you can find it.
If
Some
you can
places
find
it's
it,
sold out, right?
yeah, if you can find it, you'll see this for about $189.
Yeah.
So
This one is a little more affordable, sub 100, around 80, 90 bucks, that kind of thing, right?
right.
Yeah, but, well, I'm really enjoying it.
If this is the way this is gonna go, I can't wait for the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's wonderful.
There we are. Schlanza.
So yeah, so for the first episode, that's it. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and
I think everybody points down here.
No,
so
everybody points down there. Yeah, we'll have to get we'll tape up a
There
subscribe
we are.
sign in the back there, right? You know, so and hit the like button if you like it, and hit the down button if you don't. Right? We'll read the comments, put comments in, and you know, this is the first episode. We're learning, just like you guys are learning. This is the beginning of a Scotch journey. So yeah, welcome. Enjoy the ride, guys.